in terms of the leadership, what or the way you want to serve, how, because there's so many things there in your story. One of taking up the responsibility, and on the other end, one of somebody who's okay with self-abuse but not okay with abuse of the brother, and that's when the voice comes out. There's so much ground to be covered in terms of being a leader from there to be an abused child, and then having a voice to see your family abused, and then taking a leadership position to frame the country's legal side of it. Can you draw me a bit more that how has this distance been covered internally rather than, yes, you have traveled South America, Europe, and Middle East, but that internal distance of being an abused child to a leader?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a big question. Let's see if I can do it justice with a good answer. And I think you separate it very well by, yes, I've travelled a lot, literally travelled a lot around the world. But I think the most profound journey has been the internal journey. People ask, are leaders born or made? And I have reflected on that question so much, and I think it's a combination of both. I think you can be born with some innate qualities and traits and develop some values that come from your DNA, but I think that life experience, mentors, role models can also shape you and help you to build and really solidify leadership qualities as well. In terms of me and my understanding of myself and my self-awareness, I think that part of my DNA was this really strong sense of values that I identified from an early age, part of which was no doubt influenced by my parents' experiences that I witnessed and the experiences that I went through, endured, suffered as well. It's interesting. I don't know whether I have a full answer to explain why I was able to suffer in silence when I was being abused and in receipt of the injustice, but then was motivated to speak out and find my voice when harm may come to others. I think if I was being raw with you, maybe that was an early sense of maybe unworthiness, feeling in those early days that perhaps I wasn't worthy of better, but being very clear that others deserved better. And that's something that has been a lifelong journey well into my 50s, which is the decade that I'm in now, is eventually through everything going on the personal journey to find my own self-worth and my own self-compassion and self-acceptance and self-love. That's probably been the work of the last several years. So that's been quite profound in itself. I think if I was to go back to those values, they have been the foundation of my leadership and my life and my calling and this drive and passion and hunger to serve others and to be the voice for others and to advocate for others. I guess I realised probably in my late teens, early 20s, because I'd been given the opportunity to step up and to lead and to use my voice, that I had a sphere of influence, that I did have the power to speak and to share stories. And even in those sort of younger years, when I spoke, people would listen. So I realised that that was a gift and that was something that perhaps I could leverage for good. And that's perhaps how I think I built upon my leadership practice, my passion to use firstly the law as a vehicle and then later the military as a vehicle to serve others. So that's probably how I would share with you my understanding of why I did what I did and then how I did it in terms of following my journey, because so much was unscripted in my life. I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. I knew I wanted to serve others and work in the area of humanitarian law and human rights. But leaving Australia, joining the military, going to South America, getting posted to Iraq, they're all things that they were choices that I made on the way as life unfolded. They weren't part of the grand plan. And I guess at every juncture when I was faced with difficult decisions or confronting situations or hardship or tragedy or loss, what kept me on the straight and narrow, what kept me returning to my true north, was this steadfast clarity around my values and my commitment to live my values as much as I could. And I guess at times that's what kept me alive as well. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but it's the best way I can describe it.
That tells me the strength of internal threads you have woven across the journeys you have been through.